Our solutions to quiz 8 for Math 65. We're asked to solve the following equations by factoring. Hopefully these will look very similar to the ones that were on the perfect problem for this week. This first one, let's see, it's already equal to 0. So the first thing we want to do, well, what we want to do is factor the left-hand side. And when you're factoring, the first thing to look for is a greatest common factor. In this case, all three terms have an x in them. So we can rewrite this as 2x squared minus 11x plus 12 equals 0 after you factor out the x. And then our goal is to factor the inside part. See, on the inside we have a trinomial whose leading coefficient is not a 1. So what we need is two numbers that multiply, maybe two numbers that multiply to whatever 2 times 12 is, 24, and add to whatever number we have in the middle, negative 11. Let's see, if you look at what multiplies to give you 24, 2 and 12, 8 and 3, I think 8 and 3 might work. We want them to add to negative 11, so maybe negative 3 and negative 8. And if you figure out that this is the solution to this question right here, then what you do is come back over here. We're going to leave that x alone on the outside. We're just factoring the inside here. And the way we factor this is you leave the first term alone, leave the last term alone, but replace this middle term, this negative 11x, with negative 3x and negative 8x. And the purpose in doing that, again, we're leaving this x on the outside, not touching it, is on the inside here. Now we have four terms, so we can factor by grouping. These first guys both have an x in them, so I'll factor that out and be left with 2x minus 3. These second guys, I want to factor something out, so I'm left with 2x minus 3. I think that something is negative 4. Leave me with 2x minus 3 in here. And now, again, leaving that x on the outside alone, I look at these two terms on the inside. They both have a 2x minus 3 in them. So I'll factor out a 2x minus 3 and be left with x minus 4. And then usually the way, now that we factored this inside, you don't need these outside parentheses. So just to simplify, I'll write things in this form. And we're still not quite done, but we're close. Now you can look at this and be like, all right, I have something times something times something equals 0. So that'll happen if the first something equals 0, if the second something equals 0, or if the third something equals 0. This one's already solved. This one I could add 3 to both sides and then divide by 2 and get x equals 3/2. And this one I could add 4 to both sides and get x equals 4. So my solutions would be x equals 0, 3/2, and 4. Or you could just leave it like this over here. Either way, it's totally fine. Something like that. And we're finally done with the first one. Second one, maybe I'll change color. Let's see. Okay, what's tricky here is a couple of things. First of all, it's not set equal to 0, so we're going to have to do something with that 20. But the other thing is these parentheses in here kind of throw stuff off. What you want to do to get rid of those is take that x and distribute it through. So get x squared minus x equals 20. And then from there we want to set the equation equal to 0, so we subtract 20 from both sides. And if you can see how to do all this, then the problem's not too bad. We got a trinomial with leading coefficient 1. So what we got to do is find two numbers that multiply to negative 20 and add to negative 1. If you play with that for a little while, I think what you'll get is x minus 5 and x plus 4. So now we got two things multiplied together equaling 0. That only happens if the first one is 0 or the second one is 0. And if we solve this first equation, we get x equals 5, and the second one, x equals negative 4. So our answer is x equals negative 4 or x equals positive 5 are the two numbers that will satisfy this equation. You can check those if you want. You can take 5 and throw it in here and check that it works. It does. 5 times 4 is 20. Same with negative 4. But you don't have to check them if you're pretty sure you did them right. Anyways, down here to the last one. Okay, we got numbers on both sides of the equation. Probably be smart to subtract everything over to one side. So x cubed minus 4x. Then I'll subtract 12 from both sides and add 3x squared to both sides to give me 3x squared minus 12 equals 0, something like this. Typically how you'll see this written, a lot of times people like the exponents to be in decreasing order. So you could reorder them like this, but you absolutely don't have to. Either way is completely fine. You could leave it here or go down to here. But at this point, we have 4 terms, and the trick we know to factor 4 terms is to use factoring by grouping. So you look at these first 2 and you say, oh, they got an x squared in common, so that leaves me with an x plus 3. And you look at these next 2 and figure out what can you factor out so that you're left with x plus 3. Turns out that it's a negative 4. If you get to here, you notice you have 2 things that both have an x plus 3 in them. So you pull out that x plus 3 and you're left with x squared minus 4. And you might think you're done, but you can actually go a step further. We got a difference of squares right here. So we can break that down into x plus 3, x plus 2, x minus 2 equals 0. And finally from here we have 3 things multiplied together to give us 0, so either the first one equals 0, the second one equals 0, or the third one equals 0. And these are 3 equations that we can solve. Do this first one, subtract 3 from both sides, you get x equals negative 3. This next one, subtract 2 from both sides, you get x equals negative 2. And this last one, add 2 to both sides, you get x equals 2. So you could write x equals and then all these guys with commas in between, or just leave it like this. I'll leave it like this. You see different ways to write the same answer. But these are the solutions to this equation. And that right there is the end of the quiz.